cross.
Hello and welcome, my name is BeBopAnime Art Tyron, and well, we're taking a look at Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. Now, I want to kind of briefly go over a little bit why I haven't been uploading. Simply put, it takes time to literally sit there, watch an anime, analyze it, have some notes down, then after that go and record a commentary and upload a review. Essentially, that really does take time, and it takes time out of my day to where I have to actually sit down and watch things before I actually review. I don't just watch and review. I don't even watch an episode and try to review an episode. I feel like there's a lot more lingering things that are kind of throughout the series, throughout one series in particular, and just kind of evaluating each episode and going after key points of those episodes seems kind of trivial, more so than actually analyzing a whole season, then putting it up on YouTube for a review and whatnot. So the problem with that is also too, if you think about it, is kind of forgetting certain key aspects and kind of letting other aspects overlap each other. And I understand that, but that's why I think note-taking is a very essential part to reviewing, at least if you're going to try it. And I try to put that in my how to do anime reviews video, but I just wanted to kind of get that out of the way real quick at the front of this video. But with that said, let's take a look at Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. I always like to think of Fullmetal Alchemist's story as almost campy in a way, because it's not presented in a fashion that you normally would see in most other anime, which they're kind of not as straightforward, especially in Brotherhood, because when it comes to Brotherhood, this is an already established anime series and is essentially a reboot, if you will, but more faithful to the original source material, which is the manga. I think actually most things are following the manga in this sense, unlike the original series, which totally went off track at the instructions of the manga artist and the manga author and whatnot. But regards to that though, Brotherhood's story is basically about Alphonse and Edward Elric losing their mother. Then out of love, they try to revive their mother, but that is the ultimate alchemist taboo, and therefore they pay the consequences through equivalent exchange. In doing so, Edward loses his arm and his leg, and Alphonse loses his whole body. Edward loses his arm through the use of actually bringing back his brother's soul and bonding it to an armor, and therefore their journey begins on them finding a way to get back their body legitimately. And through these kind of illusions and kind of stories about the Philosopher's Stone being a big thing in this, and there's a lot of plot points and a lot of other stuff that I don't really want to go into, and I actually that's really all I want to tell you about the story when it comes to that this description of it. Really though, the story is just about the two brothers on their journey. It's seeing how they go from just kind of these gullible, ignorant people that may not know that much about the world out there as they're kids still. Then as their journey goes further and further on, they get to learn a lot of things about corruption, death, greed, and all this other type of stuff that really plagues the human race. And essentially, they get to learn the truth about their father, they get to learn the truth about human alchemy, transmutation, and all this other business, and you get to really see their journey unfold. It's a really interesting story, and I think that that's the reason why I don't want to actually kind of tell you too much, is because it's a really good story. I actually think that nothing was wrong with the story. I think one of the main things, though, I would find a problem with, is, I notice a lot of people might, is it's kind of winded in certain situations, and there's certain situations where you've seen in the anime, like, this could have been avoided completely, but that it's just for story bits, and that's just kind of to ramp up the story completely. Just trying to make it more fresh and whatnot, and make it more longer and more drawn out in certain situations, especially. But yeah, moving on from that though, the characters themselves are done very well. I think that Alphonse and Edward Elric are likable, but also kind of sympathetic type of characters. They're still children in an adult world where they have to do things that no other children should be doing at their age and whatnot, and that's pretty much what they have to experience. And there's a lot of like bits here and there where you get to feel a lot of sympathy and empathy for the characters. But not only that, the other characters, some characters that actually are villains in the beginning but become allies in the end and whatnot, all of that type of stuff is interesting, and you get to see that unfold in interesting ways. I mean, it's just not simply, oh, I'm good now because of this, this, and that. There's more explanational reasons that get explained along the story and with the characters, and that's what makes ultimately me find more or less the characters from every branch, whether they be villains or allies. They're all interesting. They all have some kind of flavor. They're all kind of fleshed out slowly but surely. Even if it's just a little bit, it's enough to pass by so that you get the gist of what that character is there for, why he's there for, and what's the point of him and his involvement in the story. And that's really what you like to see in most other animes that don't do that type of stuff, and it's very refreshing for having to have this one do it especially. But moving on from that, the animation is done beautifully for its time. I think that for its time, I think it came out in 2010, I think it is. 2009, 2010, I think it was. The animation was solid. It works. The animation, kind of the budget, if you will, towards certain action scenes towards the end really ramped up, and it felt like you just got immense detail through and throughout with the animation. It felt solid, fluid, and at times very beautiful and symbolic. Also, with the art style and how it works and how the character designs are and how certain things happen. It's really good. I think my only problem would be with the animation is that certain scenes from a distance, like for example, when you're seeing a character from a distance, they kind of look like a blob in a way. I mean, it's not even supposed to be for a comedical effect. It's just pure animation, and honestly, that's kind of in my opinion. It almost kind of reminds me how Gonzo kind of has these moments where like, oh my god, the detail's really good, but then at times it'd be like, what the fuck am I looking at? You know, it's really back and forth at times, especially during action scenes. You'll notice it. With our kind of standards moving up today, it's really noticeable, but even for its time, I think it was a fantastic animation. Well done action scenes, well done the scenery scenes and set pieces, very well done overall. So the soundtrack is great. This is what you're listening to in the background as I review this, and it is an amazing soundtrack that I think gets the point across as saying there's some somber mood, and there's like some kind of mysterious unknown force mood, and they all kind of diverse in, and they all kind of collide with each other and kind of work with each other to make you get into the anime even further, investment wise, you know. And I think the soundtrack is done fucking fantastically. I just don't have any problem with the soundtrack. It's done very well. The theme for the Elric brothers, for human transmutation, all that other stuff fit just right with the music, and it works fantastically. Moving on from that point to kind of remedy this, the voice acting, if you will. The voice acting is pretty well done for the most part. I don't personally like the Japanese voice acting. That's my personal preference. Keep that in mind. But I like what's there. For people that liked only subs and whatnot, it's a preferable thing, and it's done very well. The English dub, in my opinion, is done very well by Funimation, and is done at a solid pace to where if any English dub fan out there, they will appreciate it and they'll like it as much as they see the sub one, hopefully. Moving on for that though. So I want to kind of briefly go over this. There's a lot of a weird type of, I guess, almost back and forth banter between fans of the original and the newer one, and I honestly think both of them are done very well. I think they're both done very well, even for the story bits and on the original series being kind of weird and out there. And here in this one, it seemed more grounded, and it seemed more kind of everything comes to a conclusion and at a great pace. I think both of those stories, separate-wise, work for each other and work for what it was. And Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood works for what it is too, especially how it wants to end. And that's really what it wants to do. And that's what I think that it really did set out and achieved very well. Didn't have any problem with that at all. Thought it was a great story. Thought it was a great overall anime. So, with that said, let's get my verdict. So, really, it's a recommended watch. If you can, it's a recommended watch and buy. It's a pretty cheap series to buy for the most part, and if you haven't watched this, it's just like one of the bigger ones out there. I think you should. It's a really good series. Very good characters, very good story, very good pacing overall, great animations and whatnot. It's a fantastic anime that I think you should buy. Definitely do it. You're doing yourself a favor. It is a great series. I try to watch this one and Cowboy Bebop like once every year because it's a fantastic, great series and whatnot. So, highly recommend it. With that said, though, I hope you guys enjoy my review of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. For the recommendations I have for you guys, it's the original series. I think that if anything, you should watch the original series before you watch this one because going back to the other one felt a bit jarring. But I still would like you to watch the original one since I think at times I personally, my personal preference is the original series, but I love this one as well. They're both very fantastic, good stories that work with each other, that play off each other very well, and there's overall a great set right there. So with that said though, my name is BeBopAnime, and I'll see you guys in the next anime review. Peace.